Okay, back to the garage, and this time I'm going to do a rock to point. This is some of that road rock that we recently found. So I don't know exactly what it's going to do. And it's raw, so anything could happen. I was asked to do some beveling, so I may do some beveling on this point, whatever it ends up being. I don't have anything planned off the top of my head. I can see almost right away that this is not going to be the best stuff to knap, but it should be all right. Now I can take a bunch of those flakes off and make a bunch of little flakes, or I can make a biface and a bunch of smaller flakes. Let's see. It seems to be pretty consistent. It does have some cracking. So let's see. I might not be able to get a long biface out of it. I'm ruining my better bopper. Let's see. Let's ruin the older bopper. You can see I've only used this for 1 week and it's already got substantial damage. I mean, really bad damage. Okay, so we'll stop with that one and see what I can do with this one. All right. Why don't I use a different tool for this, like something like this? Big aluminum bar, because it's a little bit more difficult and it strains my wrist. Let's just try it anyway. Yeah, nice flakes. But I want to try to keep the length, so I can't be doing that too much. Now, the advantage of having a long tool like this is the mass is in line with the strike, which it does a lot of the work for you that way. It's like having a weighted end, like this has a weighted tip, so that does a lot of work, and I'm swinging this. There's no swing, it's just a push, but the mass behind it does a lot of work. So it makes it a little bit easier. It's still straining on the wrist, especially if I encounter a tough spot that I got to hit really, really hard. But it does have its advantages. Okay. So I'm not trying for big flakes. I'm trying to make sure I remove material that is conducive to obtaining a biface. Okay. Sometimes I can hit that and clear it off, even if I'm crushing it a lot. Sometimes there's a hit that can actually blow that away. It didn't work that time, but that's why I kept hitting it, just in case you're wondering. Okay. All right, so what was that? That was a natural crack. But it was a crack here, so I hit it. Where did I hit it? I hit it here, hoping that it would just take a little bit off. Took a lot bit off. That's okay. There's an incipient crack in there. Okay. let's see. I just installed that little crack. Hopefully that doesn't go upward. Hopefully it's going to scoop it out. Because if that crack is going upward, I'm going to lose that that biface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to creep up on it from behind. See if I can scoop out a flake here that'll also meet up with the other side of that incipient crack. Yeah, like that. But it didn't meet up on anything over here yet. I gotta see if I can knock off a little bit larger flake. I don't know. Let's see. There's a crack that runs through there. Maybe I should focus on that first. And worry about that incipient crack later. I think this crack is the worst, so I'll do that first. I just want to see how deep it goes. Okay, yeah, I got under it that time. So it doesn't seem to go very far on this side. Okay. Now this stuff, it's pretty rough, but it can be heat treated. I'm going to continue with the biface. I think I can make something out of it, even though this is rough. It's got concrete in it. I think I can still make a biface. That'll be thin. I think I can thin it down. Yeah. Okay. But I need to preserve the length on it, so I can't be hitting the tips very much. Right now I don't know where the tip or the base is, so I say tips. Okay. Yeah, one side is not better than the other, so I guess it doesn't matter which side I try to favor. Sometimes I'll favor one side or the other. If I see a good material, I want to keep the good one or the good side and remove most of the stuff off the bad side. But they both look equally bad. All right, so here we go. Yeah, it's inconsistent. Some of it's really good, like right there, and some of it's really bad. There's an incipient crack right there, a little bulb remnant from earlier. I can't remember if that's where that incipient crack was from earlier. I think it is, but you never know. I cannot remember these things. Okay, this is the critical stage. Once you get it bifaced, the critical stage is, I say this is critical because I need to figure out where the edges are going to be, for one. Number two, figure out where the center line is, which is pretty easy. But the edges is not easy to figure out, because if this ends up being on an edge, this concrete that goes all the way through, I'm not going to be able to sharpen that edge. So this is probably going to be near the base. But if I have to notch through it or put a barb there, it's going to be even harder. So if I flip it over and take that off and make this the point, I might not have that much on the edge. And then, you know, this is much easier to put barbs in on this side, and a stem as well. So I think I might do that, even though it looks like the opposite, like this should be the point. I'm looking at the concrete. I need to make sure I take away the concrete and keep the good stuff. So if I make this the point, I'm probably going to remove too much of the good stuff. Yeah. I don't see concrete here. I see mostly on this side. So, all right. With stone that's consistent, you don't have to go through that stage. You just keep going. You don't have to stop and look and see, okay, what do I do? All right, so this is going to be the point, the tip, or the distal end. This will be the proximal, if you want to use the archaeological terms. Okay. So I'm working on a project right now where I'm going to be doing several of these, and weighing the debitage. Like right now at this juncture, or at this stage, I would get my scale out. Well, I was supposed to weigh the whole thing first. And then I'd bag all this up here in a baggie, weigh that, set that aside, and label it first stage, quarry blank, or biface, something like that, right? And weigh this at this stage, and then clean all that up and begin the next stage. The next stage is getting the preform done, and I'll have debitage. I'll bag up that debitage, weigh it, and set it aside, and I'll do that all the way to the finish, right? And then weigh the finish point. I've got a project that I'm doing for somebody that needs some of those for classroom. Okay. So I might do some of that on video, right? Except I don't like doing that on video because I end up breaking them. But if I get some practice ahead of time, I might put some of those on video. If I do them off camera, I don't break them as often. Okay. See, one thing when I'm working on a project that needs the debitage, I got to make sure that if a flake, like right there, it just flew there, I've got to pick that up and make sure it's included in the samples, right? So it's kind of distracting in that way as well. Sometimes these things fly across the room. So I got to stop, go over there and look for it, pick it up. Now I only do that on special occasions, okay? So don't get no ideas. Don't say, oh, can you do one of those for me? Because I want to study it too. No, this is only on special occasions for certain things, okay? I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, word gets out, and I get a lot of projects. I can't say no, and then I end up taking years to finish it out. Okay. Get some concrete right there. I still don't know what I'm going to make, but it's probably going to have barbs on it, since I mentioned barbs. Okay. Let's get the good bopper out so I can be more confident on removing these difficult flakes. Is that loose? No. Good. That would not be good if it was already loose. And I'm grinding it instead of peening it because I dent it so badly that if I were to peen this with a hammer, it will mushroom these. It'll mushroom these out, these little parts sticking out, and I'll develop little layers on here. I don't want any layers. I want it just solid metal. So yeah, I'm going to wear through these pretty quick. Why don't I want layers? Because they reduce the effectiveness of the bopper. You lose energy because you have to. There's little air gaps or there's spaces in between the layers, and they also slip on each other. And you know it comes off when you hit, and there's a little bit of a mushroom. That piece of copper will pop off, and you'll lose energy. And with my luck, I lose energy in exactly the wrong time. Like, I'm trying to do some really accurate work on a perfect platform, and I hit it, and there's a big old mushroom spot there, and it'll slip, and I'll lose energy or do something, and I'll mess up the platform, and I got to regrind it and do it again and figure out why did it do that way. Get frustrated and say, well, maybe my technique was off. Let's change my technique. When actually my technique was perfect. It was just a tool that was messed up. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, nice clean spot on the bopper. Good results. Okay. So I've still got plenty of width. I'm not too scared about that island in there. Okay. I think I can thin it down. We'll see. Oh. Almost got it. Okay. Oh, I heard something. Where did it go? It just went a little bit. See, if that had gone properly, it would have taken this away. But since it didn't go properly, something happened. I heard something in there. Okay. See if I can get that island. Okay. So I'm backing it up here. I'm not holding it firmly there. I'm backing it up. And this helps me to feel where it's making contact back there. So not only is it for positioning on the strike, it's for feeling if I'm backing it up properly. The holding part is not the important part. It's the backing that's the important part. Okay. Voila. Okay. Now let's see. I think I can do this with indirect percussion more safely than I can with the bopper. Yeah. Yeah, there's a hard spot there. So I'm going to switch over to indirect percussion to get through that tough spot. The accuracy is important because if it's not accurate and I hit too high, it pulls it, and then pulling it bends it as well, and it could snap right across that thin area that I just made. Okay. I did take some time to try to maintain my tools before the video started. I did grind down some of them, but I didn't do them all. It drives me nuts to sit there and try to do them all. Over the years, I got into the habit of just sitting down and starting napping. Just sit down and start, because back in the day, when the kids were still running around the yard, someone would say, "Dad!" And if all I did was maintain my tools before the video, I had to cut it off, and I never do a video. I sit there 30 minutes maintaining my tools, and that's it. What'd you do yesterday? Just sharpened up my tools. That's it? Yeah. That's all I had time for before someone said, "Dad!" All right. Start with the aluminum. If I think I need to have more force, I'll switch to the steel. Steel does not play games. Now, what would I do if I was using antler? Well, I would probably have a stash of antler, because I'd be breaking antler left and right. Oh, yes. And I don't mean breaking like snapping this way. I mean splitting, pieces flying off the tip, just cracking it so that I can't use it anymore. I'll just put it aside if it has one big long crack in it. That's what I mean by breaking it. Yeah, I'd be breaking a lot of antler if I was using antler, which I have done. I don't mind breaking lots of antler as long as I have lots of antler, which I do now. And I'm going to probably do some of my project with antler tools. You know, the project where I weigh the debitage, I separate the debitage. I think I need to get a response, but I think some of those are going to be done with natural tools. The aluminum seems to be working okay. Yeah. Now, how can I tell if it's the aluminum or what? How do I know aluminum is working okay? How do I know it's that and not just me adapting to it? Well, after doing it a lot, you get a feel for what a certain material is doing. Sometimes you can do this with a hammerstone, but then the hammerstone doesn't seem to be reacting very well So you switch to antler billet. Maybe the billet is starting to crack. You switch over to do an indirect percussion with antler. That's cracking, so you go back to hammerstone. And if you were using a hard hammerstone, you try a soft hammerstone instead. You know, just start switching around tools if it doesn't feel like the flakes are being removed like you want them to be. And of course, sometimes nothing really works well. Yeah, there's sometimes you get stone that's just a real pain in the butt, or it snaps in half easily. Let's see. I don't think this is snap in half-ish, but this is the time it does snap in half if it's going to. When you take a thinning flake. That one worked out, so it doesn't appear to be snap in half-ish. Another way you can tell without having to hit the base is if the flakes start diving, then you go, I should not be thinning from the base like that, because if it dives, it cuts it in half. It's called a reverse hinge. Basically a snap in half. But I don't see any diving flakes on this, which is good. All right, where's the center line? It's getting kind of wonky. Let's see. Yeah, I gotta get rid of this here. But I'm gonna make the tip more narrow and more symmetrical. Work on some of the symmetry overall. That reduces the width so that flakes that I shoot across are easier to get to the center. Get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. How much force does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? The more narrow it is, the less force you need. See, that went past center, right? Is this it? I think that's it, yeah. That's the kind of flake I want. Not too far, but has to be past halfway. Yeah. Just like that. That was actually exactly halfway, but it's okay. It didn't thin it down, but it got rid of something that was there that I didn't like. Right? Where is it? I don't know. Oh yeah, it had a little step right there. Okay. So far, so good. I don't know about how that concrete's going to thin down, though. I could end up with a big lump right here. So when there's concrete, the best strategy is to just remove a big flake where the concrete is. Unfortunately, that's what causes it to break in half many times. Too much force. I'm trying to remove big flakes so that the concrete doesn't interfere. Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is another stage. I'm going to stop here and pause, and it's 29 minutes, so I'm going to clean this up and take a photograph. But this is the next stage. This is the preform. It's more refined than the Corey blank, and it's getting to the point where it's recognizable as the finished product. There's already a straight base on here. The width is 2 inches. Let me see. Yeah, it's 2. So it's getting to the width that I need. And so far so good. Yeah, I'm going to clean up the edges on the next video, and then do the thinning in the middle here. I think I'm going to do the thinning everywhere before I work on the stem. Yeah, that way I can put in some good barbs without having to worry about hitting this really hard and having a barb fly off. Okay. Oh yeah, photograph. All right, next segment.